Hello, and welcome to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the injury market's top program for doctors, lawyers, and insurers who want to gain greater insight on how to improve patient recovery results and deliver better services in the U.S. injury market. Please welcome your host, Dr. Jeffrey Allen Kronk.
Okay, doctors, what I want to talk to you about today is, how do you make yourself unique in the market? How do you actually do that? How do you differentiate yourself in the market? I'm going to tell you, it's absolutely key. It's absolutely key to be able to do this. If you want referral relationships and you want valuable attorney relationships and valuable insurer relationships and valuable employer relationships and valuable union relationships and valuable, I don't care what else, relationships, patient relationships, you've got to actually be able to show that you're different than everyone else in the market. If you show that you're different than everyone else in the market, you can actually charge more, right? You can get paid more, a lot more, but you got to have something that's unique or different in the market to offer it. So in the market, things are based on value, or you're a commodity. A commodity means that it's a product or a service that anyone can get anywhere in the market. So you look at chiropractic in the market. I've heard attorneys say, hey, there's a chiropractor on every single corner. To that attorney, basically, there is no difference. There's not a lot of difference. And a lot of times doctors are going to attorneys and they don't have anything unique or different to offer. Now, you may think, hey, go in there and saying, hey, you got a great staff, you do a good job, you have good documentation, you get good results. You have a laser, you have, whatever piece of equipment, you have decompression tables, you do this technique, you do that technique, as if that's something unique or different. It's not. It just gets washed up into the market. So one of the things you have to be willing to be is you have to be willing to be different in the market. Listen, there's only 3 ways to build a business, right? And those 3 ways are simple. You have to have more new people coming into your business and consuming your service. You want those people consuming your service on a more regular basis. In chiropractic, we call that a PVA. And you want a higher charge per visit average if you can get it, right? So somebody goes into your grocery store, I need new customers. Good. I need those customers to come back and use my grocery store all the time. Great. I need those customers to buy more when they're in my grocery store. It's no different for a medical practice, a chiropractic practice, or anybody else's business. They're all the same. So, but what you want to do is you want to start to stand out and be unique in the market. You got to have something that actually, that you can say in 2 or 3 sentences very, very quickly. You can start to differentiate yourself in the market, and it's not that hard to do. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, I'll just throw one off the cuff, and I'll give you one because it's really not that hard to do. But if I'm talking to somebody, hey, let's say I'm talking to an attorney, or I'm talking to an insurer, or I'm talking to an employer, or I'm talking to a union, or why should somebody treat with me? Why should basically somebody be somebody that they send their injury work to me? Well, I'll just take a stab at it. Hey, we treat both severe spinal soft tissue injuries found in MRI and those that are not, which is why we're so successful with spinal injuries, both in better physical recoveries for our patients and faster, fairer settlement processes for attorneys or insurers that may be involved. That's what makes us unique. Let me say it to you again. We treat both the severe spinal soft tissue injuries found on MRI and those that are not, which is why we are so successful with spinal injuries, both in physical recoveries for our patients and faster, fairer settlement processes for the insurers or the attorneys that may be involved. It's just that simple. What did I say? Well, I have something unique. Now, if you say, well, that's not unique, I say, how many attorneys are referring to you on a single presentation? Because what I just said is the basis for an incredible presentation. And it's based on value. What is the value? I'm talking about what is the value in the injury market. If I say, hey, we both treat both severe spinal soft tissues found in MRI and those that are not, good. What's the first thing somebody's going to think about? There's soft tissue injuries that are not found in MRI. What are they? And are you an expert in those? And you better be an expert in those, because those are the injuries that are the most significant injuries in the market today. Those are probably the most expensive injuries in the market. And those are the injuries that so few doctors actually know how to work up. They just give lip sync to it. Oh, I treat spinal sprains. I see spinal ligament injuries. And you go to the doctor and go, okay, well, how do you work it up? What do you do for it? And, you get these basically the same answers that everybody gives, and they're standard. There's nothing unique about it. So you have to be willing to stand out. Now, one of the things with willing to stand out, and this is where I coach doctors, and this is one of the things that is a little bit difficult to coach at times, is that some doctors think in the injury market, getting attention is going to get you the wrong kind of attention. Or is good attention and bad attention, and even bad attention can be good attention if it if it gets people to know who you are, right? I just went to the Nike movie, right? I'll use an example of the Nike movie. They take on Michael Jordan, they want to take on his shoe, and they don't have a lot of budget, and they don't have a lot of money to work with, and they know that they're going to create a shoe that the NBA is going to penalize them for. They're going to penalize Michael Jordan every time he wears the shoes. They're giving him a $5,000 penalty. And the Nike executive that's working the deal says, "Oh my God, look at the advertise. Everybody will know who Nike is." So that was a means of negative attention, getting you very good positive attention. And obviously, it worked out for a good deal. So I'm not saying that you necessarily should go for negative attention, but you have to be willing to stand out. You have to be different. Your approach has to be different. Your mannerisms have to be different. Your dress has to be different. Your confidence level has to be different. Your ability to communicate has to be different. You have to stand out. You have to be willing to stand out. And you have to be willing to take a stand. All right. So a lot of doctors in the market will say, oh my gosh, they're whining and crying about the fact that they don't get paid in full. Whining and crying because they get 50% reductions on a regular basis. Well, if you're doing that, you've been and have allowed yourself to be commoditized. And again, the commodity is when there's a product or service that somebody can get anywhere. When that's the case and that's your perceived status in the market, then people are going to drive down the costs, and the market's going to drive down the costs. And unfortunately, what happens to commoditized services is the market drives it down to the point where you can barely pay for the overhead. It's not really that profitable. Value-based practices are extremely profitable, but they've differentiated themselves. They have a quick statement. They know what they're doing in the injury market, and they're willing to be different. And part of willing to be different is when you're doing what everybody else is doing. I'll give you an example. In the injury market, oh my God, this is so insane. Doctors sit in there and they complain about getting only 50%, or complain about getting these 50% reductions, and they're being marginalized and everything else. And they sit there and the attorneys say, hey, you all got to have an MRI. You all got to have an MRI. You all got to have an MRI. They don't have a rhyme or reason for why they're doing an MRI on every single patient. They don't have clinical rationale for that. They don't have good clinical justification. And they certainly don't have a positive test that they're referring that MRI to in case they have a negative MRI. So they're pawns in the market. You either are making the environment or the environment is making you. Let me say that to you one more time. You are either making your environment or your environment is making you. You decide. You can either agree with your environment, in which case it's making you, or you can disagree with the current environment and you can start creating it yourself. I highly recommend that you do that. That is the best way to go. That is the best way that I know to actually grow a practice. And it's the best way that I know to get noticed in the market. And you want to get noticed in the market. Attention basically delivers referrals. So you want referrals, you got to get attention in the market. But what attention are you going to get in the market? I'm a chiropractor. That's not going to get any attention. I got I got machines in my office that are unique and expensive. That's not going to get you really that much attention, right? I do this particular technique, not going to get you any attention. I got great staff. Everybody's got great staff, right? I got a nice location. A lot of people got a nice location. Now, I'm not saying that these things don't help. They all help. Don't get me wrong. They're all good, right? But everybody's saying the same thing in their presentations. That's what makes it so that it washes out. You got to have something that's unique, and you got to be willing to stand for what you believe in. Because if you'll do that, trust me, I know better than most. I have stood on the fact that the spinal ligament injury, the spinal support injury, is one of the most debilitating injuries in the market today, and so few doctors really know how to work it up. And the ones that are the most valuable doctors in the injury space, bar none. Very, very, you can go anywhere with that condition. In other words, you can go in when you understand how to work that up, and you understand how to treat that, and you understand how to be successful with the treatment of it, and you understand the basic documentation needs, the medical legal needs. You understand how to sit in a deposition and give it. You understand how to sit in trial and give it. And you understand that this stuff is super, super easy to do because you're unique and different. You're not going to have any problems in the market. You are not going to have any problems having a large injury practice in the market, but you got to be willing to be different, willing to be unique. And when I say willing to be different, different is easy when everybody goes, "Oh my God, I so agree with you." Different is hard when you're confronting the confusion that's in the market today. Difficult is hard. Oh, everybody needs an MRI. The only thing there is an MRI. That's a confusion. When you start to go against that, you better be pretty darn certain about what you're doing, because if not, that confusion is going to confuse the hell out of you. And it's going to change you, and it's going to back you off, and you're going to go back into being a commodity. Nothing unique. Now, that might sound a little bit different, but that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you're out there and you want to be unique and you want some help with that, you call the Smart Injury Doctors program. Call us at 800-940-6513 and take a look at what we have to offer, because we'll definitely show you how to be unique in the market. And when you're unique, you're going to compete against doctors that aren't. You're going to compete against already existing relationships, and you're going to start to get those relationships. It's not that hard to do. So if you want more information on it, I highly recommend you give us a call at 800-940-6513. Look us up at smartinjurydoctors.com. And you also will, as you get involved with us, if you just want to test out more free material, obviously this podcast is what I do, so you get a feel for me and who I am in the space. But also, we have other resources, so just call us. Doctors, as usual, what I do is just short and to the point. Hopefully you got something from this today. For sure, start to differentiate yourself. For sure, start to strategize how you can even say what makes you unique or different. So you can say it in a minute or two, or under a minute. So you got the 30 seconds to a minute that you can say exactly to a medical doctor, to a hospital, to a surgeon, doesn't matter. Hey, we treat both the severe spinal soft tissue injuries found on MRI and those that are not, which is why we are so successful with spinal injuries, both in better physical recoveries for our patients and faster, fairer settlement processes for the attorneys or insurers that may be involved in the medical legal process. That's it. Doctors, I thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I look forward to delivering another podcast to you in the very near future. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the #1 audio production show for professionals in the U.S. injury market that want to deliver better injury services to the patients, clients, or insureds they serve. If you like what you heard today, please leave us a review and don't forget to join us on our next program.